Good day. We are still at the CZI Congress, day 2 now. There have been a lot of discussions. We've spoken to a lot of interesting people. And we've crossed paths with an old friend, Ray. We did articles together a long, long time ago.
I remember that.
Was George behaving?
No comment on that. Unless he speaks on our behavior.
Well, let me just say, we used to carry briefcases that contained lunchboxes and calculators. But we looked very important around town.
Whatever happened to that technology?
Yes, laptops were a benefit for seniors.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's true.
Okay. Oh, so you didn't have laptops?
No.
And you had a calculator?
Yes.
And you used the calculator to audit?
Yes.
Yeah.
And 4-column paper and 14-column paper.
Oh, my.
Yep.
Is
Like
that how
when a
ancient you are?
spreadsheet was literally
yes.
a piece of paper
Yeah.
that you spread on a desk.
And let's comment, that's when the economy was thriving.
Anyway, Ray, it's good to have you.
No,
He's now a very important person in business now. He's CFO of the Beitbridge Bulawayo Railway. That's what your company is called, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so,
What is it?
well, before we get to that, we poured you a cup of tea before the camera started rolling.
Yeah.
What's he having?
So,
Should we even ask?
Well, it's actually quite interesting because you saw me having Kericho tea and gashing about it, and he was like, you know what, let me try it. So I think, let's hear what he thinks.
I think, point of correction, I liked the energy that was coming from the tea, so I thought, let me try.
It has that effect.
That's what from yeah.
And what do you make of it?
Oh, it's quite good.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I'll try it again after this.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And Rufaro, you and I?
Yeah, summertime, chilled white, so we're going white. This is a South African blend. So I think there are 3 grape varieties there. Great value for money and easy going for afternoon with very important people like you.
Yeah, look, this is one of our go-to summer afternoon wines, and we shared many a pleasant memory over it.
Indeed.
And I can think of 1 or 2 unpleasant ones that we shared over a bottle of liquor. But yeah, we'll come back to your question, Tinashe. Not many people know what BBR is. What is BBR?
BBR, it's a private owned organization. Call it a logistics company that owns the railway line from Beitbridge to Bulawayo.
Say that again.
It owns a private rail line from Beitbridge to Bulawayo.
So are you saying it's actually possible to run a private rail enterprise?
Yeah, we've been doing it since 1999.
I thought railways were a public good and they were only supposed to be owned by government.
I think that has been changing lately, and you find there's been a lot of private sector going into rail. You need to look at an example. If you go to Zambia, for example, you have many players that are there. There's the Tazara route that is now connecting DRC, Zambia, and Tanzania. There's a thriving line as well there that is operated mainly by private players, with the government owning
this is
a
very encouraging.
minimal portion of it. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys own the railway. Do you own the trains?
We own we have the locomotives, we have the wagons that moves the cargo.
Wow. And it's a 100% private company.
100% with because it's a build, operate, BOT, build, operate and transfer. So government has a small percentage just so for the agreement.
Oh no,
to
so
be functional.
basically, after a certain period of time when you guys have recouped your investment and got a return, you're going to hand it over to the government.
Yes, we're going to hand it over. So it's a
You don't look very pleased about that.
hopefully we'd have
that's a
recouped the money, but you know what, we've had to be in the toughest period of Zimbabwe in terms of operating.
But why does the government have to take it over? Why can't you run it?
It was an agreement to say that Triple P's work in that you are given a specific period of time to operate. So it's up
And
to
in your
you.
case, how long is
It
it?
was 30 years to operate.
30 years.
Yeah.
okay.
So you've done 20 years so
We
far?
have done 20 years so far. So,
So 10
soon
to go.
we will be handing it over, and it must be in a usable condition for it to continue for the foreseeable future.
So
That's
my
just-
question to you is it possible for you not to hand it over?
Or to
If
buy
you had,
it?
or to buy it, if you had to run it forever?
You would have to negotiate with government because this is a
Okay.
pre-agreed
Condition.
date, so which you can only extend maybe if you.
So what do we need to do to ensure that it remains a private
Who's we?
rail? Well, I think I'm a fan.
I
I'm
I quite
definitely-
like the idea of the government getting it back.
Why?
No, the idea.
Because the government is me. I like owning stuff.
Please give us an example of something that was run well by a private company that was then taken over by government that is doing even better, or just maintained the level of performance while it was in private hands. I can give you an example of the opposite. So at independence, Wange was controlled by Anglo-American and a big
London.
no, Nick, and they donated the controlling stake to government. I think Anglo had the management contract to run it for several years after, and it ran quite well. And then that ended, and the government took it over. And look at what state Wange Colliery is in today. It's a mess. We would.
It's a very good example.
We would.
It must be the bow tie.
Oh yes, you're looking dapper today.
Very.
What's up with that?
And wise, suddenly.
Yeah.
Well, I felt underdressed yesterday, so and I figured there's a good chance that Tinashe is gonna wear a shirt that is buttoned up with no tie. So,
You could
So
have
I
you could have told me.
Next time.
Okay, so this thing's worked out quite well.
Yeah,
The investors are reasonably happy.
Yeah,
Do you pay taxes?
we do pay taxes. I think that's
Okay.
one of the beauty about it, such a project, especially for a nation. Government is guaranteed a dividend at the end of the tenure, because you're going to have a fully functional railway line that is worth $150 million. So you find most people can come and say, you are not making a profit.
Your capital is $150 million.
It was less then, but valuing now in dollars over time.
They've been creating wealth.
Yeah, it's now worth more, close to about 100.
So if they were listed, they'd be number.
well, they would probably be in the top 10. Well, not anymore because the market is now worth more than 8 billion. But
Okay.
yeah,
In
would
normal
be a-
times.
it would be quite big. What I'm curious about is why haven't we seen more deals like that since 1999? How did you guys actually pull it off?
I think back then, I think the appetite was there for growth, and I think in 1999 was just before things became bad.
All right.
So the environment was
No, we say
was-
less good on this show.
I'm learning. Yeah. So it was less good, and you find that I think the appetite was there, and that was a vital link, because what that line did and how that project was motivated. It was the shortest route now that was linking South Africa to Zambia, because to Zambia, because there was that gap there. It means that they had to go via Botswana. And sometimes it's coming from close to Beitbridge, but for it to go to Zambia, it has to go through via Botswana. Remember also, if you're coming from Harare, the National Railways line does not go to Zambia. It stops somewhere in Lions Den there after
Really?
Shoniwa. So that's another opportunity again in rail that someone
take
could
it up
tap
from
into.
there.
because-
This is a very interesting perspective. So these are South African investors who've come here
Yeah.
and they've made this investment. And I didn't realize that it was actually about linking South Africa to Zambia and probably to the Congo.
Yeah, definitely.
It goes to our discussion a few weeks ago about looking regional.
Regional, yeah.
If you'd always thought about it as the shortest line to Bulawayo, it probably wouldn't have made financial sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
the sad bit is it's been the only one
Yeah.
over the last 30 years Because I think that what you're speaking of in terms of 1999 is the trajectory that Zimbabwe was on.
Yeah.
And if we had continued on that particular trajectory, getting private sector coming in, I think by now we would have a regional network and a functioning railway system.
But you know, I mean, I want to come back to this regional play thing. So it took a South African investor to come and do this. But the size of our insurance and pension fund industry in 99 could have carried this investment.
Yes, they could have.
So why did no local institutions have this foresight? Oh, and even when BBR was built, why did no local institutions have the foresight, as you say, of connecting Lions Den to the Zambian side?
I think we always have plans. We're gathered here, we're coming up with plans, but it's someone that is coming outside. You'll find from a CZI perspective, I'll tell you what happens. Foreigners come and attend some of these I was
Talk
about to
shows.
say
Talk shows.
Sorry, Sekai.
But what happens is you find that there's a time when the Ethiopians came and they learned a lot about our tanning rubber industry. In fact, it's the tanning, what you call
Leather
the
industry.
leather industries. Thank you for that. Yeah. And they've gone and they've done it far much
And
better
they've
than
replicated.
us. They have replicated that. And
We've killed ours.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a legend that's going around that we then went to Ethiopia, right, to learn about their tannery industry.
Yeah.
And then when we got there, they were like, "Oh no, we learned everything from an
you."
African country."
Yeah.
And then the chap was like, "Okay, which African country did you learn this from?" I'm like, "Oh no, Zimbabwe."
So they took that and they mastered that, and you find this is heralded as one of the most successful in Africa in terms of triple Ps, the railway line, including the first project that we did, which was the first triple P in Africa, the New Limpopo Bridge.
Really?
These are two highlights if you are to talk about infrastructure development in Africa.
So
and
I have you guys to thank for that payment I have to make every time I cross Beitbridge.
you have to, and every time you were passing Beitbridge, you were giving us $1.
No, it's more than $1.
No, $1. for TV, $1.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
Yeah,
It's sad that we don't see more deals like this.
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, I think NRZ is not particularly well run, and perhaps you know,
That's very kind of you.
it would be much
It's more
better
than
off
kind.
if
Maybe
just
That's
offloading
magnanimous.
I'll be on their side for once and tell you another side of. I've been in rail for a long time now. Yes, there's an aspect of management that is there, but we're talking the railways as a logistic company that is meant to support industry. So you had National Railways supporting Zisco Steel, and you had it supporting Shabani, all those mines. So and Bulawayo on its own was a massive consumer of Zisco steel products. So Zisco dying and Shabani dying and all these other mines dying left NRZ with no traffic. The farms drying up. Cattle was a big thing in terms of what NRZ was moving. So you find you can have nicely polished locomotives and wagons, but as long as industry is not thriving, as long as farming is not thriving, as long as mining is not thriving, you can't do anything to NRZ. Because
But
all these things
beg
need
to
to
differ.
function.
I beg to differ.
Help me.
So in the 80s, when all this was happening,
Yeah.
you had an economy. The economic size was about $6 billion.
Right.
Even though it was bulky items,
Yeah.
granted, but the economy was $6 billion, and the amount of exports was, or imports, exports and imports was around $2 billion.
Yeah.
Now the amount of exports and imports is about $9 billion. So if you look at the amount of money, amount of
Trade.
that's going on now, it's far, maybe 3 times, 4 times more than it was then. Granted, it was a bulkier product, but we've got tons of stuff that's coming from China, tons of stuff that comes from South Africa. That would be substantially less if it was by rail.
Yeah.
Did
So
you-
even
did
our
you-
grain,
did you
our
know
grain
that-
imports, we import using
Okay,
road.
please, that's a sore point. That's a sore point. Let's leave the grain alone. It's 2.8 million tons. That's our story. We're sticking with
No,
it.
no, I mean when we do import, when we import
But
food.
even notwithstanding Tinashe's point, I would view it from a different perspective. Assuming that there was no economic activity in this part of the world at all, right? Just looking at where Zimbabwe is on the map, right? We are a natural transit via land anyway. So it stands to reason that no matter how poorly we're doing economically, if the railway is working and well oiled, right, it still makes sense to ship stuff from Durban to Zambia through Zimbabwe, and rail would certainly be cheaper than road. So why wasn't it built up to service the regional market? If locally the mines and
The
agricultural
Rhodesian railways served the regional market. And I think
It was linking the market. I think, like we were saying, it was all an issue of, yes, there's an aspect of management, there's an aspect of funding, but there is another element of Chinese. What we have seen over the past 5 years, the Chinese have pumped into Zambia about more than 4,000 trucks, haulage trucks.
But it's because the opportunity exists, Ray. I mean,
The opportunity exists,
I was
yes.
about to say that a few weeks ago when I won't say the word that comes to mind, but when we messed up traffic at the Beitbridge border post,
was
Right?
sorry, it's a bit windy.
I guess Big Brother's listening. When we messed up the logistics at Beitbridge a few weeks ago, the trucks backed up to Messina. Can you conceptualize
How many kilometers is
how
that?
many kilometers that is and how much traffic that is? And tell me that it's not viable to run.
It's viable.
It's
I
not
think
viable to run a rail on it.
Regionally, as a rail, we know we have failed. I think we're holding approximately 10% of bulk cargo in the region. And the
90%
rest-
is on the road.
90% is on road. And
That is an
the-
epitome of failure.
Yeah, it doesn't make
In
sense
rail.
at all.
Okay, but okay, let's stay
But
away
there's
from
some-
let's
yeah.
move away from the depressing big subjects. A couple of small, more immediate topics. Your comment on the currency
currency,
and how it's affecting you guys.
I think, especially if you're a foreign-owned company, it's a bit it becomes a sticky point if you cannot remit dividends.
No.
I'm also president of CZI, Matebeleland. And what's happening is, in terms of retooling the old industries,
All right.
it's a mission now for us because we have old equipment that is there. It's a bit difficult unless you are an exporter for you to be able to retool all your workshops and all. So that has left us behind, and everybody's crying.
That's a very good point.
Advice to the governor?
But I thought dividends were a priority item, and as long as you had the money, it would move. So what
You
you're
had-
telling us? is
as
the
long as you
money's
had
not
good money.
I think no. The question is, you must have the money because we don't have sufficient
money?
for foreign currency in the country. So you're probably generating Zimbabwean dollars, and you don't
Oh, you
have.
guys generate Zim dollars.
We have no choice, but because of SI 127,
You invoice in
you
dollars.
have to
You
invoice
invoice
in
in
Zimbabwean
dollars.
dollars, unless you have through traffic, probably traffic that is from South Africa going to Zambia, then you can charge in. That's more like an exporter. Yeah, we have to charge now in maybe foreign currency, but in terms of local customers, we cannot force them to pay in US dollars because of the statutory instrument that we are all talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Another topic. This global logistics
Supply chain.
supply chain. Okay, I won't use that word again.
conundrum.
It's conundrum. It's a good word. Your comment? How's it affecting us? Outlook?
I think it's one thing that we have seen over the past. I'll focus more on the price, the freight, the increase in freight rates. That's what we have seen. That's one thing I'm telling you. We're getting quotations for rail
within a short period of time, because of the increase, the movement in price was quite significant.
Can you share some percentage?
Massive. I think could be in the region of 45%.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's
And do you
huge.
see this abating in the foreseeable future?
From the outlook, people are saying it's likely to continue. The next
Increasing.
18 months is most probably going to be like this.
So
What is the challenge? Is it
I think industries have fundamentally changed. Post-COVID, the global industries have fundamentally changed.
okay?
Because I don't think it's a backlog, but I think that it's consumption driven. So we're actually consuming more. So that's where global inflation is coming from. You have greater demand for the product, and you need product to be moved.
But you do have a backlog because there was a long period where things
When
didn't
it
work.
was shut.
Yeah.
So the ports were full of things that have to be
Had to be moved.
moved. But new things were arriving in the ports daily.
Things have
So
substantially
you
changed.
check the movement. I'm telling you, it's you talk to any importer of raw materials. That is quite. They've taken quite a knock on that. And
So 18 months from now, what happens then? The capacity expands to pick up the excess demand.
I was about to say nobody knows.
Because you said 18 months from now.
Oh, no, you get supposed
People that are in the field hoping that something will change, or probably COVID would have, all the backlogs, like what is rightly saying, would have been cleared by then, and there'll be a normalcy where there's more, the shipping companies are more looking for customers rather than now.
Well, I
where
think
there's a
that you're going to
demand.
find that there are fundamental changes in the globe in terms of the consumer, what consumers are demanding
Yeah.
more and more of. You're actually going to see more and more, and that's why the price is going to continue going up. I actually agree with you that the price is not going to come down. It's actually going to go up.
I think that's it.
I
But-
think
but
this is
what it does, it makes Zimbabwe normal.
how.
Why?
well, we're the only one with prices going up.
No, that's a new word today. Biden-inflation.
I think let's prepare for a period like the 80s, eh?
Yeah, well, the 70s.
70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Until Reagan and Thatcher. Ray, it's been good.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Should I?
Maybe-
Hopefully next time you'll be
maybe-
drinking something more interesting
Yes.
than tea.
No, this
And
is
how
more
are you finding
interesting.
This
It's
is
very interesting,
more
right?
interesting.
Yeah, okay,
Well,
yeah, whatever.
There you go.
This
Good
is
man.
more interesting
Good man.
than your butter and your hat.
But maybe someone in the audience is in touch with our old trading partner, Suleiman Gidash, and you could send him a link. I think he'd be very proud to see us
Yeah, it's exciting.
actually
I think
sounding sensible.
the whole lot of that bunch, wherever they are, we hope they are okay.
Most of them are. Most of them are not in jail.
Yeah, and they're doing okay.
And hopefully your briefcase has more than a lunchbox now.
Now it has a digitalized calculator.
Depends how you're using your computer. So.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
on.
thanks a lot, eh?
Pleasure meeting you all.
Thanks a
I
lot.
think
Yeah,
it's a pleasure catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real EY, the fake EY, and me in between.
And as usual, don't take us too seriously, but you should take this man seriously. He knows what he's talking about. We hope we've inspired some thoughts. We hope we trigger some discussions between you and yours. Stay safe. Be good. If you can't be good, be good at it.